What's going on, guys? Matty A here, and I wanted to go over a quick video that I think whether you're a new real estate investor, a novice real estate investor, or you're a seasoned real estate investor, understanding how to comp properties, no matter what market you're in, whether you're in a seller's market, a buyer's market, understanding how to comp properties at a really high level, how to analyze deals and know exactly what the value of your property is, whether you're looking at after repair value, whether you're looking at its as-is value, no matter what kind of analysis you're doing, understanding how to comp properties is super key in order to knowing how much money you're gonna make and put in your pocket at the end of the day. So wanted to make a real quick video for you on how to comp properties while using the MLS. These are gonna be houses that an appraiser would use, so you can really use the data that is gonna be supported and gonna be looked at for the final analysis and the final say from an appraiser when a buyer comes in to offer on that property, and they're gonna justify how much value they give it. The appraiser is gonna pull specific comps. We're gonna look at those specific comps. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that right here on the MLS. Some of the other things on how to pull tax records and how to look at the trends in order to bring all those together to get the best analysis so you feel confident and what that value is gonna be right in this video. All right, so we're inside my MLS. Every MLS is different, so just know that in order to pull comps, accurate comps, we want to pull the ones that the appraiser is going to use to value the property when you go to liquidate it and sell it. And so whether you are buying a property and you're looking to comp it for your after repair value of after it's fixed up and you go to put it on the market, or maybe you're rechecking your comps on a property that's renovated, or you just want to know based on its condition what the current value is, we're going to go ahead and utilize the MLS to focus on all the specific things that will help us come to where we believe currently the price of the home falls in line based on all the metrics and trends that we're going to take into account here. So real fast, in my MLS, first starting out, I want to make sure that I am accurately pulling and referencing the correct specifics of the home. So for this example, we're going to use one of my rental properties that I just rehabbed. We're getting ready to put it on the market. I want to know what I should price it at, be as competitive as possible to maximize as much money we can pull out of the property. But we also want to make sure that we are marketing it correctly, not overpricing it, not underpricing it, and we are basing it off of the true analytics of the market. So I'm going to just type in here, this is Property Radar, and this is something that's available to anybody on the West Coast. On the East Coast, you have the ability to use Rebo Gateway. There's a couple other data providers, or I'll show you in one just quick second. Inside your MLS, you should have the ability to pull some kind of tax record information to verify and cross-check. So real fast, this is the property that I am listing. Real quick, just like Zillow, it gives you an estimated value, a quick and dirty analysis. It shows that this property is worth about $183,000. I think we'll see here in a second that's not the case, but this is a quick, okay, it's a 1954 build, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 845 square feet. That looks good. So we're going to come back in here, and right up into the MLS, I would pull the tax information, and I would also pull the trends. Not sure if you have this in your market or not, but there are ways of getting data and information based on your MLS, specifically your region, your market. So finding out when we go through this, what those metrics and things that we are tracking, how you can do that in your market. Every MLS is different, but know that you have the ability to pull this data. So tax records, I'm going to go ahead and pull the tax records real fast, and I'm going to put in the same address, 798 Fairway. Let's see what pulls up. And there's my property. So we're just going to double check to make sure that when we're pulling comps, just like we would, that an appraiser would do, we're looking at similar properties that are like for bedroom count, bathroom count, square footage count, lot size, and overall condition. So that's why we're pulling these tax records, just to confirm and make sure. So when it pulls up this information, we can see here, after cross-referencing it on Property Radar, one of the other sites, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 845 square feet. Shows that I bought it when I bought it, for how much, all that good stuff. So let's jump back into the MLS now. And we're going to go into what I like to do as a map search. So a map search will allow us to pull within a specific radius. Now, an appraiser is going to utilize the comps starting within a quarter-mile radius. So if they can pull 3 to 5 comps within a quarter-mile radius of the subject property, they're not going to need to go any wider. So you want to start very, very small, cast a very narrow net, see if you can find similar properties that are like for like your property that an appraiser would be able to use. And if you can't find 3 to 5 properties, then we're going to start expanding out, and we're going to start looking at, a half-mile radius or 3/4 mile radius, but always start very narrow, because most likely you're going to be able to find enough comps within that quarter-mile radius. And so that's where you're going to want to start. So now coming into the search criteria, going like for like I'd mentioned before, I'm going to pull up the status dates. So we want to pull everything that's active. That tells us what our current competition is within that quarter-mile radius. We want to pull up all the pendings. That tells us what our previous competition was, but also where the market is trending towards, right? So where people are actually buying in at. And then, of course, most importantly, what we give the most weight is we're going to look at properties that have sold. Always start within the last 6 months. Like I said, you want to mirror what an appraiser would do, so we can get into their minds. We can see exactly what they're going to be pulling, and therefore we can have a lot stronger data in our pricing strategy. So you can see here there's a lot of properties. So we're going to want to narrow this down even further, going down to like for like. And I'm going to go usually to narrow it down with square footage. So with square footage, we're going to say, being that this property is 845 square feet, we're going to put in here that we only want properties within 1,150 square feet. You usually want to go about 250 to 300 square feet over, so you're not going too far beyond your subject property. And I would say about 250 to 300 square feet below, but being that this is a small property anyways, we're going to leave that open. So you can see here that it narrowed down some of those properties. So real quick, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to condense to see what kind of properties it's pulling, and I can see how similar these houses are. You don't want to go too narrow to start with, because you want to be able to see what's actually out there. Then you can start narrowing down some things. So we're seeing, 3-bedroom, 4-bath. We're probably going to want to come back and go, you know what, we don't want anything that has 4 bedrooms, being that, it's not going to be comparable for us. So I'm going to go back and revise my criteria. I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to say, for bedrooms, I don't want anything over, let's say, 3 bedrooms and very similar square footage. So that narrows it down a little bit more. I'm going to come back in here and condense it. And we're going to see what our competition is. So we can see here a lot of these houses are 3-bedroom, 1-baths, 2-baths. So we might want to narrow out some of these 2-bathroom properties, but the reason why I probably wouldn't do that is we can see here that some of the highest sold comps are actually 1-bedrooms, and 1-bathrooms. So you can see here this 3-bedroom, 2-bath that had 1,008 square feet, sold in 15 days for $246. Well, there's actually 3-bedroom, 1-bath for 952 square feet that sold for $265. So even though it had an additional bathroom, it still sold for a little bit less. So my guess is going to be that the condition of the home may have been, not necessarily a super fixed up property, but it looks pretty nice overall. So then if I were to come back to the highest sold comp, the 3-bedroom, 1-bath at 952 square feet, this is a lot more comparable to my house, a 1-car garage. We're missing 1 bedroom, but very similar in square footage, pretty similar lot size. So overall, a good comp, renovated house, new appliances, flooring throughout, HVAC system, roof, all that, right? So this is a pretty accurate comp. This is the highest comp in the neighborhood that's pretty similar to mine. And so usually this would have been one of the comps that I used to model after in order to get pretty close to this high $265 comp price. So if I were to come back into the list overall, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some of the averages and the trends on this list. So in order to get an accurate snapshot of that, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to pull a comparative market analysis. There's a lot of different, titles or ways that you can use to compare these properties. I like the CMA portrait because it's just a very quick and dirty analysis, and it helps me look at some of the trends that I immediately want to know and look at. So first, obviously, did we have 3 to 5 solid comps that were pretty similar to our subject property within that quarter-mile radius? The answer is yes. So we move on to the next step, and now we're going to start looking at some of the averages. So, of course, I'm going to give the most weight to the sold averages down here. So the average bedroom was about 3 that we can see. The average bath was about 1. The average square footage was about 975. My property, 845. So about, 100 square feet less, $1.25 less, I would say. And that's something that I'm going to keep in mind when I'm comparing some of these other statistics. So the average days on market was 26. So basically this tells me that the properties went into contract within the first 26 days. They found a buyer, and that gives me an idea of how quickly or the velocity of the market in that particular neighborhood. So pretty good. That's below average, I would say. And then we can see here the list price and the selling price. So the selling price percentage to the list price, pretty much every property sold for list price, 100% of list price, or even over that. So that tells me there's a heavy demand in that area, and it gives you the ability to negotiate strong and get at your asking price or over your asking price if you are being, fair with how you comp the property. So I look at the days on market, the price per square foot. We're looking at overall about a $249 price per square foot. Something to take, a note on though is as your square footage goes up, your price per square foot is going to go down a little bit. So if I were to look at some of these, the higher price per square or the higher square footage properties, 1,000 square feet, 1,000, 1,000. If we were to look at their square footage, they're 240, 244, 182. So these are some of the lower ones that are pulling down as you get lower square footage, like this 837, which is very similar to mine. They go for a higher price per square foot. So just something to keep in mind when you're weighting your averages. But let's say 200 for round numbers, 50 square feet per, $250 per square foot in the property is the average. So if mine was 835 square feet, if I were to get a calculator real fast, let me double check that, 845 square feet times the average of, let's say, 250, that puts my list price at about $211,000 a square foot. So that's the average, right? But being that my property is completely remodeled, it's very comparable to this house that has a new roof, got all new stainless steel appliances, got nice landscaping, brand new paint, new flooring, pretty much all of this stuff, but we have about 100 square feet less. That still gives me the ability to price it pretty close to this. So my price per square foot is going to go above the average. So let's say I priced it at $270 a square foot, which isn't too far over. The highest one was 278, 278, 260. So if I put mine at 270 times the 845, that puts me at about $228,000 price range. So I'm going to think that I'm going to list this property right around the $230,000 price range. It's staged. It's got great photos. We're going to market it accordingly. We're going to door knock. We're going to do all the things that I think will allow us to demand pricing the property in that $230,000 price range, which gives me leverage and confidence that we can negotiate getting as much money as we possibly can because we put out a high quality product. We've comped the property accordingly. We've done our due diligence. And now we are able to really make sure that we are, marketing and proceeding accordingly. So real fast, as a final recap, you're going to look 3 to 5 comps. We got those. We're going to do the price per square foot test and analysis, taking the average and also playing around with that square footage number to see where you can price accordingly, as well as looking at the average days on market. We're thinking, hey, it's going to take us about, let's say under 30 days to get an offer. If you market it accordingly and do what we call our market blitz, where you list on a Wednesday, no showings until the open houses on Saturday and Sunday. It drives everybody into the property on 1 and 2 days, which obviously more bodies in the property at the same time feels like more demand, helps people come in emotionally with the strongest offer they possibly can. We try and accept an offer Monday by 5 p.m. and open escrow on a Tuesday. That's best case scenario, right? So we have our days on market that we take into account with that. Then we're going to go in real quick as the final step and look at some of the trends. So some of the trends real fast, and every MLS has something similar to this where you can pull some of this data. So just to give you guys a quick idea of what we're looking at, we can look at some of these trends and get real specific in a particular zip code or neighborhood. So I'm going to go into this zip code because it's where my house, the heart of where my house falls. And we're going to look at some of the statistics. I'm going to leave it as broad as possible right now. And so it's thinking about this for a quick second. In this zip code, it's going to just give me a snapshot of what's going on right now. And so this is more of the extended version where you're going to go through all your due diligence to really make sure you're pricing your property accordingly. This could be the difference of knowing some of these trends and these statistics of negotiating and having a little bit more leverage and posture at the negotiating table just by knowing some of these things, right? If we know that I'm going to come in here and go, the days on market is going to tell me on average, how quickly a property is going into contract, that's pretty much right in line with the comps that we saw. It was about 26 days or 22 days. So we can see here that's pretty average for the zip code. We're going to come in here and go, how many months of standing inventory are there? So how much supply is there in this zip code? And based on supply and how much demand is out there, we can determine if it's a seller's market and we have the leverage in this neighborhood, then we're going to stick to our guns of trying to negotiate the highest price instead of maybe conceding on price or conceding on closing costs or some of those things. So looking at this, we have about 2.2 months of standing inventory. So it looks like it's been going up a little bit. Okay. So something to keep in mind, right? We want to think about these things and go, this is basically our competition. The more they have to choose from, the better our product has to be and the more fairly or competitively priced we have to be, right? So we maybe can't be shooting for that pie in the sky. If this was maybe 1.2 months of standing inventory, I might shoot on the high side of where I'm going to list this property instead of maybe right at the average. So that just gives you the ability to look at the charts and go, let's make a logical decision based on the numbers, instead of necessarily going, I think I can get this. This is speculation, but I think I can get this. Let's give it a shot anyways. Let's go back to the numbers and let the numbers really tell us what to do. This is the one thing that I see most investors make a mistake on, is they lead their decision making with their heart and their emotion, which is a heavy indicator on the retail side. But when you're on the investing side of the real estate industry and the real estate space, it's all logic. It's black and white. It's all numbers. It's all data. And we analyze the data as investors to make the best and most educated financial decisions that will serve us and help us accomplish these goals. So we got months on inventory, which this basically tells me, hey, I think I'm going to, probably still shoot for, an aggressive price, but know that it could be trending up. And this might be something I want to keep an eye on in case I need to reduce my price and get the property in escrow a little bit faster. So we got months of standing inventory, the average price for sale versus sold. This just tells us real fast, basically, how many properties are going on the market every month and how quickly are they going into escrow and actually selling every month. So this just gives us an idea of what is the absorption rate, what's the velocity of the market, how quickly is it moving. Then you have your average price per square foot. We said ours in that neighborhood was about $270. In this overall zip code, $199. So it actually dropped. So that tells me the market is softening a little bit too. So some things to keep in mind, right? Going back to the trends. So we look at trends. We verify tax records, we look at our comps, like-for-like properties, and we are going to look at the data most importantly to help position us on where we want to take this property to sale. So now that I'm thinking that I'm going to list this property right around $230,000, I'm going to look at real quick one last time, what are the active properties? What is the competition that I'm going up against? What else is in this neighborhood within a quarter-mile radius that's for sale that my house might be going up against, and how does it compare? So mine's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and I'm thinking of listing at $230. This one's a 3 to 4-bedroom, 2-bath at more square footage than mine. They're listed at $250. It's been on the market for 3 days, so it hasn't been sitting for a month, so we don't necessarily know what kind of reaction we're going to get from the market, but something to keep an eye on, right, is if they go pending pretty quickly, that tells me $250 was a fair price and people thought it was a fair price, and they went in and they offered aggressively on it to get it off the market as fast as possible. So $250, I want to check real quick how the condition of this property is. Looking on a map real fast, it's not far from my property. So going back to some of the pictures real quick to see how comparable this property is and if it's highly superior. So this property looks like it needs a little bit of love. So obviously you got pink here. That's going to not necessarily appeal to a specific home buyer. Let's see what the interior looks like. So this looks like more of a rental grade type property. Not necessarily, it's a little dated, not necessarily remodeled or upgraded, decent flooring, but nothing crazy, right? Good condition overall, I'd give it an average. So I still think I'm going to go in at $230, and this gives me a better idea of what I'm going up against. I think my property at $230 could be very competitive to this property at the $250 range, but I'm going to keep a close eye on this. So the active inventory tells us what our competition is. These are things that we want to keep an eye on when you're comping out properties, when you're trying to figure out where to position your property when it goes on the market. Okay? So we could look at the last 2 comps to get a better idea, but overall you get the gist of how to utilize the data on the MLS within a specific range, within a specific time frame, like for like properties, look at the trends, make sure that you're taking everything under one umbrella into account on how you're going to price your property. And that's how you comp a property on the MLS. So if you guys enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment, feel free to leave a question, anything in regards to real estate investing, tutorials, trainings, real estate entrepreneurship. Happy to be a resource and answer questions for you, and you can get those answered here on my channel. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Be sure to check out the next video.